Your GI says you're in remission, your calprotectin is normal, but you still feel like garbage. And you're starting to wonder if you're imagining it or if something's being missed. Hi, I'm Kate, and today we're talking about the remission paradox. When your test results say you're fine, but you definitely don't feel it. This matters because clinical remission and feeling well aren't always the same thing, and understanding why can change everything about how you move forward. I see this all the time with my clients, and I've actually lived it with my son. His scopes look great, clear. His bloods came back perfect, and his gastroenterologist was super happy. But he was still exhausted. He couldn't get through a whole school day without needing to lie down. His mood was flat, and he kept saying, Mum, something just doesn't feel right. And here's the thing. He wasn't imagining it, and neither are you. When you've been through what Crohn's puts you through, the inflammation, the medications, the stress, the nutrient depletion, the disrupted sleep, the complete upheaval of your microbiome, your body needs more than just the absence of active disease to feel normal again. But because the medical system is set up to monitor disease activity, not wellness, the gap often gets missed. You're told you're doing great, and you walk out feeling like, maybe I'm just being dramatic, but you're not. So let's reframe this. Clinical remission means your Crohn's isn't actively inflaming your gut right now, and that's huge. That's what we're aiming for. But remission doesn't automatically restore everything that got depleted, disrupted, or dysregulated along the way. Think of it like this. If your house flooded, clinical remission is when the water finally stops coming in, and that's critical. But the house isn't livable yet. The carpets are still soaked, the walls need drying out, there's probably mold growing somewhere, and the furniture's, well, it's all over the place. Stopping the flood doesn't mean the house is back to normal. It just means you can finally start the real repair work. And that's where most people get stuck, because once you're in your remission, the focus shifts to maintaining it, which is absolutely important. But if no one's helping you with the repair work, you end up living in a damp house, wondering why you still feel terrible. So, today I'm walking you through the 5 overlooked factors I investigate when someone's in clinical remission but still don't feel well. These are the things that often need attention even when your Crohn's is quiet. Let's start with fatigue, because this is the number one thing I hear. I'm just so tired all the time. Post-inflammatory fatigue is real. When your body's been fighting inflammation for months or years, your mitochondria, the little energy factories in your cells, well, they take a beating, and they just don't bounce back the moment inflammation stops. They need time and the right building blocks to recover. And it isn't lazy. It isn't in your head. This is cellular recovery. So what I look at, are you getting enough quality sleep? Because if you're not reaching deep sleep stages, your mitochondria can't repair. Are you moving your body gently? Because movement actually helps mitochondria recover. But it has to be the right amount. Too much and you're actually making it worse. And here's a big one. Are you still running on adrenaline? A lot of people in remission are still in fight or flight mode from the trauma of being sick. Your nervous system hasn't gotten the memo that it's safe to relax yet. With my son, we had to actively teach his body it was safe again. Gentle movement, nervous system regulation, and honestly, just giving him permission to rest without feeling guilty. The second factor, nutrients. When you've had active Crohn's, you've likely been malabsorbing for a while. Even if you're eating well now, you're trying to fill a very depleted tank. Iron, B12, vitamin D, zinc, magnesium, these aren't optional extras. They're essential for energy, mood, immune function, tissue repair, everything. And standard blood tests often show you're within range even when you're functionally low. I had a client whose ferritin was 38, technically normal, but she felt like she'd been hit by a truck. We got it up to 80 and it was like someone turned the lights back on. When I look at what I look at, so I want to see optimal levels, not just not deficient. And I want to know if you're actually absorbing what you're taking. Because if your gut's still recovering, you might need higher doses or different forms to get your levels back up. This is where working with someone who understands functional ranges, not just pathology ranges, makes a big difference. The third factor is your microbiome. And I'm going to be really straight with you here. Microbiome recovery takes longer than mucosal healing. Your gut lining might, well, look beautiful on a scope, but the ecosystem of bacteria that's supposed to live there, well, that's been through hell. Antibiotics, inflammation, dietary restrictions, stress, all of it shapes your microbiome. And rebuilding a diverse, resilient bacterial community doesn't happen in a few weeks. This is why people in remission still have symptoms like bloating, unpredictable bowel movements, food sensitivities that seem to come out of nowhere. Your gut's healed, but the community that run it is still finding its feet. So what I look at, are you eating enough diversity? Because your microbiome thrives on plant diversity, different fibers, and are you including fermented foods if you tolerate them? Are you managing stress? Because stress directly impacts your gut bacteria. And sometimes, yes, we need to test. Microbiome testing isn't perfect, but it can show us patterns like low diversity or missing keystone species that help guide what to focus on. With my son, this was the slowest piece. His gut looked great, but it took nearly a year of gentle, consistent microbiome support before his digestion felt truly normal again. The fourth factor is stress. And I don't just mean, are you stressed right now? I mean the accumulated nervous system load from everything you've been through. Living with Crohn's is traumatic. The pain, the unpredictability, the fear of flaring, the social impact, the medical procedures, it all adds up. And even when you're in remission, your nervous system can still be stuck on high alert. I see this with people who can't relax, who are hypervigilant about every symptom, who feel anxious even when things are going well. That's not a character flaw. That's a nervous system that learned to protect you and hasn't learned it's safe to stand down yet. So what do I look at? How's your sleep? How's your mood? Do you feel safe in your body? Can you tolerate uncertainty without spiraling? These are nervous system questions, not just psychological ones. And the work here isn't just relax more. It's about actively retraining your nervous system through practices like breath work, vagal toning, somatic work, and sometimes therapy. It's real physical work. Now, the last factor is residual inflammation. Sometimes there's low-grade inflammation that doesn't show up on standard tests, but is absolutely affecting how you feel. It might be food reactions that aren't causing obvious gut symptoms, but are keeping your immune system on edge. It might be other inflammatory markers that are slightly elevated. It might be histamine issues from mast cell activation. I had a client in remission who still had terrible brain fog, and joint pain. Her Crohn's markers were perfect, but when we dug deeper, she had significant histamine intolerances that were driving systemic inflammation. Oh my gosh. Once we addressed that, everything shifted. So what I look at is, are there patterns to when you feel worse? Are there foods or situations that trigger symptoms, even though your gut seems fine? Do you have other inflammatory symptoms, skin issues, joint pain, brain fog? I'm having brain fog today. Sometimes feeling unwell in remission is your body telling you there's still something that needs attention, not just active Crohn. So let's come back to where we started. Your GI says you're in remission, and that's genuinely wonderful. That's the foundation. But if you still don't feel normal, you're not imagining it, and you're not failing. You're in the repair phase, and the repair phase has its own work. Restoring energy, replenishing nutrients, rebuilding your microbiome, calming your nervous system, and addressing any lingering inflammation. This is where the real art of living well with Crohn's happens. Not just managing disease, but actively rebuilding wellness. And here's what I've seen over and over. When people stop feeling guilty for not feeling great and start addressing these overlooked factors systematically, they don't just feel better, they feel genuinely well. Not perfect, but well. Strong, like themselves again. And that's what we're aiming for. If this helped you make sense of what you're experiencing, then share it with someone else who's in remission but still struggling. They need to hear it too. And if you want support working through these factors specifically for your situation, that's exactly what I do in my one-on-one coaching and inside the Crohn's Method community. You don't have to figure this out alone. I'll see you in the next video, and have a beautiful day.